What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the College Loop Podcast. I almost said the Auburn Daily Podcast, but I caught myself. I am once again joined by Harrison Tarr, Daniel Locke, and special guest Noah Griffith. How y'all doing today?
Could be a little better if Auburn had gotten the job done, but not to get too far ahead of myself here.
I'm rocking and rolling. I'm excited to have Noah on today.
Yeah.
Harrison made it out of the dog pound, so I guess that's good news.
I did just get back from Athens, and we're going to talk Auburn men's basketball and Auburn men's hoops. I've had a couple hours to reflect on it, do a little internal soul searching, if you will. But before we get into that, Noah, I'm going to give you just a second to kind of give yourself a shameless plug real quick and tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, and I guess just a little fun anecdote. Let's see, what's your favorite flavor of ice cream? Throw that one in there.
All right, that's a pretty easy question. So I'm from the Plainsman. I'm a journalist at Auburn, journalism major, senior. I was the assistant sports editor at the Plainsman last semester, and I am taking an internship position with the Like Observer this upcoming semester. So, getting up there, moving forward, moving towards graduation. So yeah, favorite ice cream flavor is definitely birthday cake.
Ooh, that's a good choice. You can't go wrong.
Yeah.
Can never go wrong with birthday cake. Well,
I mean, I would say chocolate chip cookie dough would be a close second, but yeah, you're right. You can't go wrong with birthday cake. So
I don't think you gave us a bad option. But
yeah.
Let's go from exciting and happy things to some stuff that's going to make our listeners and viewers not as happy. Dylan, the show's yours. You know what to do. You're on the point here. Probably better than Wendell Green did tonight. So go ahead.
Yeah, so we're about 2.5 hours out of whatever we just watched on TV. Auburn basketball had one of the worst games we've seen all season, probably the worst game of the season. Would you agree? It's got to be the worst game of the season.
Okay.
Lost to Georgia, 76-64 in Athens, in a game where Auburn shot 28 three-pointers and made 6 of them.
Yeah, this team shooting 28 threes made no sense.
Yeah, especially in a game where Janai Broome put up 22 points and 12 rebounds. I don't know why he if they wanted to win this game, he had to put up 40.
Well, Dylan, I do have a question for you. I know you're our facilitator here, but I typically run point on our men's basketball stuff. So I'm going to ask you a question about how you want to go about this. Do you kind of want to go around the horn here and let everyone kind of grab their talking points that we kind of discuss? And Noah, we'll let you jump in last just so you can kind of cover any bases that we might miss, if that's cool. If does that work for you, Dylan?
That works well for me.
Dylan, I'm going to let you go ahead and start this off with the. I assume you're going to talk about guard play.
Yes. Probably some of the worst guard play we've seen from the season. Wendell Green.
Probably the worst guard play since 2020.
More than likely, yes. Probably some of the worst guard play I've ever watched in my time watching Auburn basketball. Wendell Green shot 2 of 12, 0 for 6 from the 3. Zep Jasper shot 2 of 3, so not a bad shooting night for Zep. He scored more points than usual, 5. Other guards, Chance Westry, he's listed as a guard on here, so I believe he played 1 minute, 0 points. Trey Donaldson played 14 minutes and had 1 point. Alan Flanagan, also listed as a guard, I know Tarr's going to be upset, had a very wishy-washy game, very inconsistent, with 11 points, which isn't bad for him, but he's a guy who is probably one of the most typed-up players going to the season, and it still was a very disappointing game to watch. And Katie Johnson, a year removed from scoring 20 points in Athens, scored 3 points. And Leor Berman got in, scored 3 points. So a walk-on outscored, looking at the just stats in general, 4 scholarship players.
Dylan, I want to build off of this, off of your conversation with the guard play, and I'm going to open up the floor to Noah and or Daniel about this before I circle back and talk about my immeasurable disappointment in Dylan Cardwell tonight. And that's just calling a spade. Sorry, truth hurts sometimes, but this is legitimately the worst guard play I have seen since 2020, prior to Sharif Cooper. And at that point, Auburn didn't have a guard. they were asking Alan Flanagan, which I don't care if he's listed as a guard right now. Alan Flanagan's a 3.
Yeah.
And his build is a 3. His ball handling, I guess, became kind of, he had to play the 1 that year because nobody else could. But this is unarguably the worst guard play I've seen in an Auburn team, and a Bruce Pearl team, and I don't know how long. If you look going back to the recipes for success year in, year out, you had Jared Harper and Bryce Brown. 2019, you still had Javon, you still had Severe. You had guys that, if nothing else, they were experienced in the league, were good facilitators, and could shoot the ball. Auburn couldn't hit the broadside of a freaking barn tonight. And I know that I sound like I'm just going on a tear and a tangent. This is just true. Auburn got beat up on by a bottom feeder, an SEC bottom feeder. And Bruce Pearl loses another game to Mike White. It's embarrassing. So Daniel and Noah, I'm very interested to hear y'all's thoughts. And I know I sound super harsh, but if y'all want to rebut me, by all means, I'm all ears.
So I'll go first, if that's okay, Noah.
Yeah, that's good. Go ahead, man.
All right. So this actually takes me back to earlier this afternoon when I was on a walk with my father, and he said that I feel like the pavilion, like Ole Miss's basketball arena, is a house of horrors for Alabama basketball. He's a big Alabama basketball fan. And I was like, huh. I mean, I don't know what makes you think that. They seem to do pretty well over there, but whatever. So I'm watching tonight. I'm thinking like, no, Stegman Coliseum's a house of horrors for Auburn men's basketball. And I feel like every time we go over there, something bad happens. And just like Harrison said, getting absolutely demolished by a bottom feeder, can't talk. And I saw one stat. This is only the 4th time in UGA basketball history that they've won 10 games before January 1st. Like, that's horrible. In fact, that is one of the worst college basketball stats I've ever heard in my life. And everyone did bad tonight. I don't know why Janai Broom took 5 threes. That's a lot of threes for Janai Broom.
I'll give you 1 heat check. I might give you 2. I'm not giving you 3.
I will say Janai Broom did make more threes than anybody on the team.
I'm gonna, if it's okay, Noah, I've got a question I'm gonna pose to you after I talk very briefly about how bad I had the worst take out of any of us, and it's not close. Going into this game, talking about how big of a deal and important was for Dylan Cardwell, who wound up posting 8 minutes and 0 points and looked like he had never played a game of organized basketball for half of that. So that's actually the gist of that. Auburn's depth looked horrific. And I could go on and on for this, but no, the state of Auburn basketball right now is in limbo. In my opinion, and if you disagree, by all means, I respect your opinion. That's why we brought you on. Where, if anywhere, can Auburn look to right the ship here? Because let's call a spade, guys. Right now, an NIT season's a failure. With the caliber of teams that Bruce Pearl's delivering. So in your opinion, Noah, where can Auburn correct this?
I think that's what you're having to go through right now, is just a little bit of soul searching. After losing 2, top 5 NBA draft picks, you're looking for that go-to guy, and that's usually been Wendell Green. He saved their butts against Florida. I mean, they would have lost without him. In tons of games this season. He's that spark plug guy. He's that guy. Even if he's having an off night, he's gonna keep you in the game. And it just wasn't there tonight. It's almost like Georgia figured out where those pass lanes were, and they got in them every single time. They knew where it was. And it looked too easy, to be honest. So I think the only place you can go from here is to get those guys who have not shot the ball a lot. Give them more shots, see what they can do with the ball in their hands. Guys like Yohan Trey or Trey Donaldson, because Trey's been a big spark plug, but he hasn't had a game where he shot the ball. Even one of the top shooters on the team, So, I mean, Katie, obviously, he keeps shooting, he keeps shooting, he keeps shooting, and he keeps missing. I mean, I- I'm sorry.
You're right. No, you're right.
I love KD, but at some point, you've got to stop taking the shots. At some, um,
And to kind of chime in on that for half a second, to your point, and Dylan said this earlier in the week, this is the first game I've seen Zep Jasper try to put the ball in the hoop
mhm,
on a consistent basis. So it does feel a little bit like, I don't know if this is BP schematically, and people are going to come at me for quote unquote, air quote, Bruce Pearl slander, because I don't think he's an X's and O's mastermind. I think he's a phenomenal face of a program, phenomenal recruiter. I don't know if it's as much BP saying we're going to change this schematically, excuse me, as some of the guys are saying, to hell with this. We got to find a way to score.
yeah, I agree. And like we say, tonight we took 5 threes, and that's insane. But like no one else can make a bucket, and he's open. I mean, throw it up there. To heck with it. I mean, why not?
I get it.
And Alan Flanagan, we talked about him. I think he's actually one of the high points of tonight, and here's why. It seems like he's found some kind of groove and some kind of happy spot out there in the middle. He's got to find. He's not going to go back to 2020 out. We know that. But he's got to find some way to contribute on offense. And I think he may have found that spot tonight. He was 5 for what? 5 for 10.
I think it's 5 for 11.
5
So-
to 10.
I mean, no 11 points is not like great. Like you can't rely on him to only, but he's contributing better than he had, at a lot of points last year, I think.
And it's coming at a critical time for him, because I think a lot of us, myself included, who, I mean, Dylan remembers, we were on a show, just Dylan and I, earlier in the week, where I was basically calling for Alan Flanagan's head.
Mhm.
I think a lot of people were assuming that his role was depleting, and it sounded like Wes was on board with it happening. So to your point, Noah, this was probably a very important game for Alan Flanagan in terms of keeping his minutes going forward.
Mhm. I agree. And until we see Johan Traore, he confuses me so much. Like he has so much potential, and I don't know if BP is not seeing enough from him to give him minutes in practice, or if he sees something like. I just want to know what he sees, like that he's not putting his 5-star freshman out on the floor. I mean, when guys are struggling to score.
I mean, in 8 minutes, Johan Traore put up one statistic, and it was a block.
Yeah.
Johan has just not been the go-to guy. They've tried to force him minutes early on in the season, and he just was what's the word I'm looking for? It was unimpressive.
But
what he was.
But to your point, Dylan, and you and I have talked about this, Daniel, you Daniel, you, Dylan, and I, excuse me, hello, us three, we've talked about this. We all believe there's a lot of potential there, Noah.
Mm.
And I feel the same way about Chance Westry. I'm going to ride for Chance Westry until he proves to me that I should have never rode with him in the first place, which he really tried to at the beginning of the season. But I think that there's just a lot of things that have to work in terms of development wise. We knew this was going to be a rebuilding year. And to kind of transition over, we're about to talk some women's hoops. I know Daniel's getting ready it's his moment to shine. It's his time to shine. And we kind of have to put a nice little bow on this. But this group is in a true rebuild where they're going to have to learn a lot of things. And if they don't figure stuff out quickly, guys, I'm going to go ahead and say it. They're going to get their butts handed to them on Saturday by Arkansas.
I agree.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, I think it's a great wake-up call, if nothing else. The game against Florida, they didn't play their best, but they snuck out with the win. So that's not necessarily gonna call for any soul searching. Tonight it's gonna call for soul searching.
And it's going to require just a little bit. And here's your transition piece, Dylan. It's going to require, and go ahead and get ready to quote this one. You're going to want to. I know your eyes are going to light up because we talked about this beforehand. It's going to require some soul searching from Bruce Pearl, because Mike White has had his number. And harsh reality is Mike White teams are never that damn good. They aren't.
Mike White is 7-3 versus Bruce Pearl all the time.
It is absurd. And I know he had Castleton in Florida, and he's got, I mean, Aquindo. There's no taking away that kid's talented, but he's not had those teams that should be able to beat up on Bruce Pearl's teams on a routine basis. That being said, speaking of teams that are probably going to get beat up on later in the week,
so from one extreme to another extreme, women's basketball plays number 1 South Carolina tomorrow in Columbia, Columbia, not Columbus.
Columbia.
Ohio State throws me off so much. But Daniel, I just want you to go and preview this game a little bit because, from my knowledge, this game is not going to be even remotely close.
I'm going to let Daniel run with it, then Noah, and then I'll just fill in whatever's left.
You guys got it. All right. So, obviously, looking at this Auburn team, they've gotten off SEC play to a pretty rough start, taking 2 bad losses to Ole Miss and Missouri, respectively. On the year, Aisha Coulibaly is leading the team in scoring with 16.7 per game. Honestly, Scott Grayson is following close behind with 15.8. Then there's a pretty wide gap between 2 and 3, and with Romy Levy averaging 8.5, and then Sydney Shaw being in 4th on the team in points per game with 8.4. But then one thing that this is the only thing about this game that gives me a glimmer of hope is if you look at South Carolina, Zia Cook is their leading scorer, averaging 15.3 per game, and then Aaliyah Boston averages 11.4 per game. So if you just look at that and just don't even look at anything else, you can be like, oh, there's a glimmer of hope there. But if you dissect this a little further, I know I'm going to get quoted on that. I'm going to see on Instagram.
Oh, Daniel Locke, you are on the College Loop Instagram.
Oh man!
No, I love it. No. Keep talking. We need this. Like, you're bringing up a good point. You're really not wrong. I love this.
So if you just look at South Carolina, this is a team full of people who just know what they're doing, and they've been here before. And no one can play women's basketball like the University of South Carolina Gamecocks.
And Dawn Staley's the GOAT.
Indeed. And then just if you look back at Auburn, they just don't really have it. Maybe honestly Scott Grayson return can kind of bring a spark plug. And you're going to need her to be an impact player, as well as Aisha Coulibaly. You're going to need Romy Levy. You're going to need Sydney Shaw. You're going to need Carissa Richardson. You're going to need Caitlin Duhan. You're going to need Sanaya Wells. You're going to need Marshawn Bostic. You're going to need Jacayla Johnson. You're going to need Precious Johnson. You're going to need Maya Pratcher. You need Amora Groves. You're going to need,
Daniel, I believe you're recording the entire Auburn women's basketball roster, and I think they understand it.
Hold on, 1 second.
Let my man cook. Let him cook.
Damola Akimbola, and of course, you are going to need more than anyone else, Carson McFadden.
I knew Carson was coming.
How could you, labor off? How could you?
I didn't. I was saving the best for last.
Quick timeout before I let Noah cook. Honestly, Scott Grayson injury update. My update is I have no update. No, by that I mean I've got I'll know earlier in the day tomorrow before they announce starting lineups and before they go and shoot around. I've got a couple of phone calls. It sounds like it's 50-50, but they want her to be completely healthy before she comes back. And I'm going to be completely honest. I don't think I would waste it on the South Carolina game at risk of re-injury. So Noah, I'm going to let you cook.
Well, I definitely agree with you. I think this game has to be about confidence building, and that doesn't mean getting a win or a loss. That means competing. I'm not gonna predict a win or loss, but you have to find a way to score against this South Carolina defense to give you some confidence, and you have to find somebody to do that that's not named Aisha Coulibaly. Just like the men's team is searching for a go-to guy besides Wendell Green. It's got to be somebody besides Honesty, which I don't think they should run the risk of playing her. but like Carissa Richardson, Sydney Shaw, they've kind of got to form their identity as a team. And Romy Levy definitely has the skills to create the open shots from anywhere on the floor. She's just been it's been very inconsistent this year with this team. Yeah, I would say just forming an identity is what you got to focus on this week. I don't know that a win is plausible, but
Well, here's my little spin zone on this. If you already knew who was going to win the game, you wouldn't play the game. Now we can logic can tell us that Auburn realistically should not really be in this one. It is a tremendous upside, I think, and positive opportunity for Auburn to get them out of the way. Well, they got to play them twice, which not great for Auburn, but get this test in early in conference play, because I do think this team's just got to figure things out. They're going to win SEC games. They're going to win more than one SEC game. They're going to win more than two. I think they're going to win probably 5 SEC games, 5 or 6, give or take. And that's a huge step up from what they did last year. First off. Second off, I believe in what Coach Jay's doing, and I think that Noah, I think you're on the same page. I know Daniel is. I believe in what Coach Jay's doing at Auburn, but you have to respect the fact that you're playing Aaliyah Boston, the best player in women's college basketball, and probably in the next half decade, the best player in the WNBA. And you're also going up against the GOAT, John Staley. South Carolina is just the premier brand, but this is also a really good opportunity for this depth, like you said, to really establish an identity. And if for the love of God, this team could all play on the floor at one time, things might be different.
And I agree with you. I think if the circumstances were different, I'd say Auburn has a chance in this game. They beat Tennessee last year. They beat Georgia. They beat Georgia Tech. They can be elite teams. I truly believe that, but I don't think the time is right this weekend. And I don't think the confidence is there.
I think you're probably right on that, Dylan. I know that we got to keep rolling. You just did the look over thing to check on time, and I know that means we got to keep going.
Yeah, to go from let's go to a more happy place in Auburn sports, a more exciting.
I know you're not talking about Auburn football.
I'm talking about Auburn football. Well, Daniel, I don't know if you're aware or not. Well, Auburn has 2 more O linemen coming to visit.
Hey, timeout has been awarded to Daniel.
I just want to say, up in College Station, Texas today, shout out to the Auburn University men's and women's swim and dive team, both getting dubs. Resume.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the Texas A&M went 0-3 on today. They lost the women's and men's swimming and diving, and then they hired Bobby Petrino as their offensive coordinator. I hope there was a motorcycle clause in that contract. But to keep it going,
appreciate the way I teed that up for you. Huh?
That was gorgeous. That was flawless.
That was amazing. But yeah, Auburn has more O linemen on the way. Alabama offensive lineman Damian George, and Baylor offensive tackle Micah Mazuka.
I have no idea how to pronounce his last name.
Offensive tackle transfer Micah from Baylor and Damian George from Alabama are set to visit. And
so Micah he was on campus today. Oh, excuse me. When we record on Wednesday. It'll come out on Thursday, but he did visit on Wednesday this week. And supposedly so is Damian George.
I believe so. I think he did.
From what I've heard, from what I've been told, they were both on campus. We know for a fact Micah was. I really need to learn how to say this last name. I just don't want to botch it, and I would just prefer to not do that.
I probably already have. So
it's okay. It's fine. I'll just write off your coattails like I always do. I think that they were both on campus today, so huge moment for Auburn.
And it looks like Auburn's looking.
Santa Claus must just have not gotten enough excitement this year because he just keeps doing things.
How does he fit all those big boys in the sleigh, though?
I don't know.
Dude, they're pulling the sleigh.
Ride on the back of a reindeer.
All right. Go ahead, Dylan.
Some strong reindeer. But it looks like Auburn is looking to pick up 3 or 4 more offensive linemen from the transfer portal. And Hugh Freeze is just on one right now. He knows what he wants, and he is out getting them. And it's truly a sight to behold.
So I don't know how invested you've been at Noah to this point in the recruiting cycle. Dylan and I give each other migraines, sending each other information about hashtag recruits every day. I was informed as of it was either earlier today or did I tell you yesterday? I think it was earlier today that I was informed that Auburn's offensive line list, and there goes Noah. We'll try to get him back in here in a moment. Our Auburn's offensive line list. Long list is 20 people, 20 plus names. And Auburn fully intends to pull 3 to 4 more of those guys, which would round your class out at right around 9 or 10 between the transfer portal and freshmen. I think that Auburn's probably going to be set to have a completely different and larger depth wise offensive line and only have to start maybe one freshman if they have to start Connor Liu.
Yeah. And still talking about the transfers, adding a guy that Auburn missed out on in Dylan Johnson, who has committed to Washington. We won't speak on him too much, just throwing it out there that a target has gone to UW.
Interesting fit.
Very interesting fit. I mean, I don't think Washington had that running back. True, they were more of a passing attack, and I think Dylan Johnson kind of helps their team out a lot.
Oh, I think it's a great move.
Yeah, I don't know how much of a fit he would have been in Auburn. I do think he would have been more of redshirting Cobb and keeping Damari off the field a little bit longer, because I believe Dylan Johnson would have been that RB2 right behind Jarquez.
Then consider me glad that he went to Washington because I want Damari on the field.
And just keep going with the other transfers. Ahmed McCullough, linebacker out of Maryland, someone that me and Tarr have both spoke about in Multitude, a linebacker that we really love. I
love this. Daniel, have you watched this film?
Yeah.
You can't tell me you don't love this guy's film.
I love it.
I love this film. I got his stats in front of me real quick, just real quick from 2022. 45 total tackles, 29 solos, 16 assists, 1 sack. And yeah, that's about all we got for it. But still, impressive. The kid, his ability to read the quarterback when he tries to drop back in zone and be able to just muscle his way through the A gap, and if it's clogged, just slide over to the B gap. Is just beautiful, gorgeous.
And he is a guy who would more than likely take over for Owen Papo, a player that I believe Auburn is really going to be missing next year. And I mean, he's just a big body linebacker who wants to throw around offensive linemen. And I love it.
As we welcome Noah Griffith back to the show, it sounds like you have a little phone dying opportunity or incident there. We're talking Auburn transfer targets right now, and Dylan's going to slide us into the next one. You got here just in time for the QB conversation, and we may have to break it up into 2 parts. So that's okay.
That's what I need to be involved in. Okay. I have something to say.
You'll get your opportunity. I promise.
Let's go.
So, if you are a fan of both the Auburn Daily podcast and of the College Loop podcast, you are very aware that me and Tarr speak in, again, Multitude about the Auburn quarterback situation, of course, for the transfer portal. Well, it wasn't Grayson McCall, and he's gone now. And now Devin Leary was up there, but he went to Kentucky. Spencer Sanders is now on the table and has remained on the table. Michael Pratt is now on the table, but he is not even in the transfer portal yet. And now, per Pete Thanos,
hot new bombshell enters the villa.
Brennan Armstrong from Virginia has now been listed as a potential target for Auburn. I don't think he's going to be really serious about Auburn, because I think NC State is where he's going to end up going.
Do I remember a College Loop podcast from
here he comes with the receipts. Here comes Daniel with the receipts.
This name. I believe it was Christmas Eve.
You also put out Luke Altmaier, so
okay. You put out. I also said the last time that Grayson McCall wasn't happening. You said I'm holding out hope, so we can both be wrong at times.
I also said that Hudson Card could happen. I will say again, I feel like this is a repeat. There's interest on the Auburn front. From what I've been told, there's interest on the Auburn front about Brennan Armstrong. I don't know that there's interest from Brennan Armstrong's camp. That's literally all that I know, all that I've been told. It's pretty much anything with an On3+ subscription. Anyone that with an On3+ subscription can read. I don't have one of those, but if I did, I would be able to read that.
What a use of money.
Anyways, we're not going there. We're not doing that.
Sorry.
I'm with you though. I just think that there's more interest from Freeze and company than there is from Armstrong.
Well, the thing is with Brendan Armstrong, he had a very large decline in productivity this season, and that comes from his offensive coordinator leaving and going to NC State. And now with Devin Leary gone at Kentucky, I do believe that NC State is probably where he's going to be going, strictly just to go back to his old offensive coordinator where he saw most of his success at Virginia.
All right. Does that mean that now we have to ask Noah the age-old question?
Yeah.
I'd go for it.
Who wants to ask him? I'll ask him.
You got it. Yeah.
All right, Noah. Who's playing quarterback for Auburn in 2023?
Okay. I think it's no brainer. It's Robbie Ashford. I think the Auburn community, or whatever you want to call it, the Auburn family, is being just like very ungrateful. Like, you just had Robbie Ashford like out here breaking records in the Iron Bowl, and now you want to turn eyes at every quarterback in the portal. Like what's an appropriate way to say this? Like a thirsty teenage boy. At the local middle school, turning his eyes at every attractive girl he sees. Like, we have Robbie Ashford. We have Robbie Ashford. And we have Holden Garner. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't see much of a need to like go after every single quarterback that's in the portal.
Why'd you have to make it middle schoolers, man? Because now I'm trying to figure out a counter analysis here where I could be like,
I'm really glad I didn't ask him the question, because I thought the age-old question around here was who's your favorite NASCAR driver. So if I'd asked him that would be pretty embarrassing.
Question though for you, Noah, is there not an upside to having a quarterback battle with, say, a Spencer Sanders?
With Spencer Sanders specifically?
With in a hypothetical world where Spencer Sanders were to come to Auburn, not that I'm saying that that's going to happen, but in a hypothetical world,
I do think there could be, but I think Robbie just won a quarterback battle with TJ Finley, and to bring in another guy for him to have to compete with kind of seems like a slap in his face after what he just accomplished.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree with that aspect.
I know they went 2-2 in their last 4 games, but the way he turned around that offense, he found several new different go-to targets to Camden Brown, Amari Kelly at times. You have to start all over with the new quarterback. I think you're building on a really good thing.
I like it. I don't disagree. I do think there's upside to bringing in a Sanders for iron sharpening iron. That's my counter argument.
I don't think Holden Garner is out of the question. I mean,
I'm with you.
I don't think he can just like sleep. Like, there's a guy there if he doesn't perform,
I like that. I like that take a lot, and I'm going to give the keys to Dylan from here on out, because he really is the mastermind and the brains of this operation. But I do thank you for coming on today, Noah. We really appreciate your thoughts and your and your insight, because God knows the three of us can sometimes get pigeonholed. So I'm gonna hand you the. Oh, dude, of course. Dylan, the keys are yours, man.
All right. So yeah, you heard it here first. Robbie Ashford, I believe, is probably the unanimous decision between the 4 of us, unless Daniel has another random transfer quarterback he wants in.
Okay.
No? All right. So Robbie Ashford is the College Loop quarterback. You know, he's already a fan, officially a fan of the College Loop podcast. But with that, I'm going to wrap it up. This has been the College Loop podcast. I am Dylan Larck at your boy the Tank on Twitter. Also joined by Harrison Tarr by Harrison Tarr on Twitter. Daniel Locke at Daniel J. Locke, and Noah Griffith. Thank you for joining. What's your Twitter handle?
It's at Noah GGO1.
Heard it there. Thank you all for listening.
Thank you.